There was this very interesting article in the online magazine Quillette. It was called The Silver Bullet. And this article is about the silver bullet in any divorce proceeding, which is the abuse of children. See, in this article, the author explained how the mere accusation of abuse can automatically put one of the two parents on the defensive, on the back foot, because the legal system presupposes that there is truth to the allegation. The notion being, of course, that nobody would make such an allegation if it were false, right? And of course, this denies the fact that people lie all the time, right? So anyway, the legal system presupposes that anybody accused of such a crime is presumably guilty or more likely than not guilty, and so automatically the person who has been accused of assault or abuse is removed from the family and put on the back foot. I mean, criminal proceedings start up, a whole host of legal issues crop up, and all of a sudden one side of the divorce is not only on the back foot, they've practically lost the war already, lost the divorce war before it's even started. And this is monstrously unfair. It's just fucking despicable to lie so that you can win in a divorce case. But it happens all the time. It happens all the time, and the tragedy is that it's so simple. It's so easy to do. Just a few simple allegations, just filling out a few forms, and all of a sudden you have the upper hand insofar as any divorce proceeding is concerned. It's just so unfair. But it gets you thinking. It gets you thinking how to prepare for divorce. Nobody gets married thinking that they're going to get divorced. Of course not. You get married to somebody and you think to yourself, well, I'm going to live happily ever after with this woman, right? And you're going to have children and a family and it's all going to be wonderful. Nobody gets married thinking that one day there's going to be a divorce. But sometimes if you're smart, sometimes if you think that, well, things might turn around, you might be smart enough to set up a prenuptial agreement, right? Especially if you have some assets, some money worth protecting, yeah? Or the expectation that you're going to have a lot of money and you want to guard against anything untoward happening to that money, right? So you do a prenup. But that's pretty much the extent of any kind of preparation for a divorce that most men do. They do a prenup and they leave it at that. I disagree with this. I have never been divorced. I've been married to the one woman, and been married, 6-7 years now? And no intention or interest in getting divorced. But I've given this matter a great deal of thought. And so let me share my thoughts with you of how to prepare. If I were a real son of a bitch, right? A real bastard, a real just awful person, you know what I would do? I'm just talking hypothetically here, okay? Just my ideas, right? Well, see, if I thought that a divorce is imminent and I'm a son of a bitch, right? I'm an evil bastard. If I were an evil bastard preparing for divorce, the first thing I would do, many months before the divorce happens, right? Maybe even a year before the divorce happens, I would go to every attorney in the area, every divorce attorney in the area, and have a consult with them. You see, getting a consult with a lawyer is free. You don't have to pay for that hour, or usually it's a half hour. And in that half-hour consult, you talk to the lawyer, you get a sense of who he is, right? And you tell him a little bit about your situation. And if I were a real son of a bitch, I would systematically go through every single divorce attorney in a 100-mile radius, maybe even a 200-mile radius, because there aren't that many, okay? Contrary to popular notions, there are relatively few lawyers who specialize in divorce, right? I go to every single one of them and call them up and request a consult to talk a little bit about my situation, and I would go and talk to them for that half hour. I go to all of them. If there are 20 attorneys in my area, I'd go to all 20. Yeah, That's the first step I would do. Why this first step? Because you see, if you have consulted with an attorney, your counterparty, the person, the plaintiff in your case, that is your spouse who wants a divorce, she can't hire that attorney. Yeah, because you already consulted with him. And so he already knows enough about your situation. The lawyer already knows enough about your situation. There would be a conflict of interest, and he would have to disqualify himself. And of course, if I were a bastard and I was meeting with all these attorneys, I'd make sure to note down which attorneys I talked to in case my soon-to-be ex-wife actually hires that guy. I'd be able to say, hey, you can't hire him. Conflict of interest. I consulted with him. See? And that's what a real bastard would do. Yeah. That way, the wife will not be able to get an attorney anywhere near her. It'll be some attorney far away. Now, why does that matter? Because an attorney that's far away, it's going to be expensive, difficult. It will be difficult for her. And of course, when me as a bastard, when I go and talk to all these lawyers, I go and talk to the best ones first. So that if any attorney, divorce attorney, escapes my little consult spree, it'll be one of the worst attorneys, not the best. Yeah, and if I were like a real bastard, I'm talking a real piece of shit. Just a real nasty ass bastard. You know what I would do? Yeah, whenever the kids have any kind of sports injury or any kind of injury of any sorts, and kids have injuries all the time. They play with their friends and what have you. They get little bruises and bumps and scrapes and whatnot. See, every time any such bruise happened, I'd take a picture of it. And I'd send an email to myself with that picture attached, and describe in detail a fictitious assault by my soon-to-be ex-wife against the children. Yeah. And I'd send this email to myself, as proof that it had happened. Yeah. Even though, the child might later say, oh no, that bruise happened from whatever. Me, being the bastard that I am, know that I can, or my attorney can easily tell the judge, no, the child is lying to protect his mother. And the truth of the matter is that the mother beat the kid up. Yeah. If I were a real bastard, I'd do that. And I'd do it 6 months to a year before the divorce. Yeah. So that way I have the ammunition. I have the proof, the photographic evidence that my soon-to-be ex-spouse was abusing our kids. That's real fucking low, right? And it really is objectively. But the fact of the matter is, see, with this silver bullet that I talked about at the beginning of this video, yeah, you got to be a bastard. You got to be a son of a bitch. You got to be a mean fuck who's willing to do any underhanded shit to protect what's his, to protect his kids. Sure, because what happens is that, see, a woman who levels an accusation of domestic abuse against a man is automatically believed, irrespective if there's no evidence. And remember, it's impossible to prove a negative. It is impossible for you to prove to me, to the satisfaction of a court, that you didn't beat up, some little kid, your own child. It's impossible to prove that. You cannot prove a negative. This is logic 101 here. Okay? A woman can simply accuse a man, her husband, or soon-to-be ex-husband, of abusing the children, and she doesn't need to show proof, and the court will believe her. But if you're a real bastard, a real son of a bitch, a real fuck, who has photographic evidence of abuse, all neat and tidy in his email, and the second there is a whiff of a possible divorce, this bastard, this real piece of work, just takes that card out from under his sleeve and just flips it down on the table. Well, then there's no more silver bullet. Not for the woman. Automatically, she would be the one ripped out of the home by the cops and tossed out onto the street. And the bastard, the guy who does this, well, he doesn't have to give her any money. No kind of alimony or support. Not initially, not during the divorce proceeding. Yeah, see? You see how powerful this weapon is, abuse? How a woman, just by saying that her husband abused the kids, she's automatically believed. And so you have to fight fire with fire. I mean, that's what the real bastard would say. Yeah, he'd say you have to fight fire with fire. And to tell you the truth, he'd be right. Now, the real bastard, right, who's getting a divorce, he's played his cards pretty well, right? Because, number one, he made every attorney in his immediate area where he lives disqualified from representing the soon-to-be ex-wife, right? Number two, by these fictitious photographs, right, that he sent to himself, he can automatically have the soon-to-be ex-wife physically removed from the house by the police, by the court system, removed from the house, tossed out onto the street, and she will have no access to money from the husband, from that son of a bitch who played this card, right? He will not have to support her until there's an actual divorce judgment. So she will have to find money to live, find an apartment for herself and what have you. And she will have to find money to pay for her attorney. You see? Because the husband will be under no obligation to pay her legal fees if she has been removed from the house on suspicion of child abuse. So all of a sudden, this bastard of a husband, he's got the money, he's got the kids, and he is under no obligation to pay his soon-to-be ex-wife anything. Not even food, not even shelter for her. He has, for all intents and purposes, already divorced her. You know, I say that nice guys finish last, huh? Yeah, it's true. It's goddamn true. Nice guys, decent guys, the guys who are honest and forthright, they always get fucked over. They always finish last. It's a sad state of affairs, but it's the truth. It's the truth about human existence. And the bastard, the evil fucking asshole who does this to a woman, he's gonna win. He's gonna win. And the thing is, see, the nice guy, before these events transpire, right? He's going to say to himself, oh, you know, I'd never do that. I'd never be that asshole. I'd never do such awful low things in order to keep my money and keep the custody of the kids. I would never do such a thing. But there are countless men, decent men, upright men, honest men, I mean, just salt of the earth, men who are of just unimpeachable quality, who played the game. They played the game and they lost. They played the game, they got divorce papers served on them, the woman fired the magic bullet, he was thrown out of his own home, but he had to keep on paying for the home. He probably lost his job because of these allegations, or held on to his job by his fucking fingernails, right? And whether he holds on to the job or not, whether he's unemployed, he still has to pay the woman to live in the house with the kids that he can't even visit. Yeah, this happens all the time. A nice guy, decent guy, he gets fucked over. Yeah, it happens all the time because you see, the system, the game, it's not a fair game. No, it's not. Not in the Western democracies. In the Western democracies, in the United States, in the UK, and Western Europe, the game is rigged to fuck over the guys. The guys are basically cows. Cows to be milked, and eventually cows to be slaughtered. And of course, you know, before all this shit that I'm telling you, the guy is going to say, oh no, I'd never do such a thing. That's low. That's, you know, only bastards, evil fucks do that. Blah, blah, blah. I'm a better man than them. I'm a good man. I'm a decent man. I would never do such a thing. Yeah, it's all good and fine to say that, right? But then you're in a, I don't know, a 100 square foot efficiency apartment or whatever, right? Unemployed and having to fork over your meager savings to support your wife and your kids whom you never see, and you have to fork over money to pay for her attorney as she divorces you, yeah? And your life is shit. And then after the divorce, the judge says that you have to fork over 2/3, 3/4, 4/5 of your salary to your ex-wife in perpetuity. And you have to keep on working and working and working. And you work for what? For nothing. And you have nothing. And your life is nothing. And there's no possibility of a new life. And then you say to yourself, man, if only I'd been an asshole when I could have. If only I'd played the game as I should have. If only I had realized that this game is unfair and this game is about fucking me over. If only I'd realized this at the start of the game. If only someone had told me that I should set aside my scruples, that I should set aside my bourgeois morality, recognize the unfairness of the game, and play this fucking game to win.